That's your entrance? That's your machine.
No.
The public entrance? But you can't stop on this road.
I don't see that.
You can't walk across that road.
Yeah.
You'll get killed. No, I'm not kidding.
Welcome back to Here's Next Door. Thank you for joining us. As you know, we do a lot of things across the country. We do a station cribs, station rigs, but today we are down in Greenville, South Carolina at the Hyatt Regency, and we're at the FEIRO Fire Station Design Symposium. This is an event that has 50 years of experience with speakers. It has very unique information that is involved in creating a firehouse, a training center, or even a police station. So let's go take a look.
My name's Robert Totaro. I'm president of Fiero, and we are now in our 24th year of doing a symposium on fire station facilities. As we think about fire stations, it's one of those things, the more you know, the more you realize you need to know.
Thank you so much for having us, Robert. We're excited to be back, which posed some problems, but also if you look at it and understand what it could be, it could represent some opportunities to create those real world scenarios. So we're considering what are the codes, what are the relevant zoning aspects of this particular site. There's a major Interstate 64. We're giving a full separate presentation on this later in the week that we'll cover some of the concepts of hot buildings design. But really it's understanding where the contaminants are, limiting that exposure.
And we've seen a lot of public hearings in which the fire department was able to say X% of our training will be Class A and Y% will be gas. And so therefore the days that you'll see or smell smoke or worry about runoff are only going to be this many days per year. And that helps the neighbors a lot.
So I want to talk about the key decisions that you make when you're designing a new Class B live fire training center. What are your training objectives and desired outcomes? Also important is what budget's available. You have to have 1402 standard awareness. First discussion is what type of training structure? What are the choice of the fuels? What are the choice of the training scenarios and props? Thanks a lot.
But if they've never worked with a live burn building, they probably aren't the right architect to design it.
And thank you for everyone here being here as well, and giving us the opportunity to talk. Incorporating technology. We have learned that with a lot of firefighters and a lot of fire organizations, they're looking for an escalating approach to firefighter training. Firefighters, fire departments, training officers are looking for that ability to plug and play.
So I heard they got one of these electric fire trucks here at the symposium for these electric fire stations. We snuck out and we want to take a sneak peek before anybody else does. So the first thing I noticed, I was expecting one of those futuristic kind of fire trucks that you have in the UK. This looks like a regular fire truck as you and I both know it. Has all the same cabinetry, same pumps. Inside, no one's here. Let's see if it's open. Look at the room that thing has. Let's work our way around to the front and try to figure out where these batteries are. Nice to meet you. I'm Mike from Here's Next Door.
I'm Mike, Tim Burkhart.
Awesome little truck you have here. So it's not what I anticipated when I heard the fire truck was here that was electric. I was looking for maybe one of those Rosenbauer kind that are futuristic, London. This looks like our typical fire truck.
It is.
I noticed you still have the center console where the engine would be. Is that where the batteries are now?
So when the Rev Group set out to build an electric fire truck, they wanted it to look like, drive like, and operate like a North American fire truck.
Okay.
And I think they've accomplished that.
They absolutely have. I was definitely not expecting this. So the pump panel's all the same. Where do you charge it and where do you keep all the batteries?
Underneath the L1, R1 compartment,
Yeah.
first compartment, that's an 800-volt battery.
Okay.
There's one on the other side. This truck has two 800-volt batteries on it. The production units will have three. There'll be a third one behind the rear axle, just to give it a little more battery life.
Right.
Right there in the pump panel, the big blue plate.
Oh, okay.
Here's where that's an electric
Charging station
for any EV vehicle.
Okay.
This is a standard across the board for EV vehicles.
Okay.
So your original question was about the dog box.
Yeah.
There is an onboard generator.
Okay.
So that's where that's sitting.
Gotcha.
So it is a 6-liter diesel engine.
So would it be considered a hybrid at that point, or is
No,
it? Okay.
Because it's all electric. That engine is just driving a generator, recharging the battery.
Recharging the battery. So the engine that you have in it, 6-liter den, is just a generator to charge the batteries, but it actually doesn't power the truck moving forward.
That is correct.
So by definition, anything that powers the truck moving forward is all electric. Unlike a hybrid where you can do gas or electric, that's why it's all electric.
Correct. So yeah, people like we'll tilt a cab, you know, and people will see the engine and they're saying, well, this is a hybrid. No, it's not a hybrid because that engine has nothing to do with the operation.
Yeah,
of the
there's
truck.
no drive stuff in it. It's
No
just
drive.
charging the battery.
Just charging the battery.
Do you use all the same pumps that you normally would have for a fire truck?
This is a 1200 GPM pump.
Okay.
Okay.
And it carries water.
It has 750 gallons of water
So
on it.
typical engine, yeah.
So from the pump panel back here is basically the same as any other truck.
Okay.
So there's electric motors coming off that electric motor. There's a drive shaft that goes to the fire pump.
Right.
Comes out of the pump transmission and goes to the rear axle.
Okay.
Rear axles, brakes, air brakes, wheel lighting, everything is pumps. Everything's what we're used to.
Okay.
The difference is that electric.
So on my normal fire truck, I have to take it into neutral, put it in PTL, and switch it over. Do you do the same thing for this?
Same thing here. So what I did in the cab was I just turned the batteries on.
Okay.
And then I went to run, you know, like starting the ignition.
Yeah.
I went from road gear to pump mode. You heard the transmission, pump transmission shift.
Okay.
Says it's okay to pump. We get okay to pump back here. This is SOC, is state of charge.
Okay.
So there's 65%, batteries are 65% charged up.
Okay.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just recirculate water. So this is just like a normal TPG really. I'm gonna hit, this is a touch screen or the radio button, you know, if you're using gloved hands.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm just gonna hit the pump.
So the one thing I noticed is how quiet the truck is right now. So this is as loud as the truck is going to get, even when you're pumping.
That's pumping right now.
That's pumping right now.
It's 35 psi
as you're circulating it through.
Circulating water.
Right.
So we're in the preset mode.
Okay.
So if I hit on the, it'll just run it right up.
It sounds like a jet engine. It really does. But you don't get the drown out of the diesel that we normally have it running all the time. Very simple to pump. So this is the old dial, like the old dial.
Dial it up.
Yeah.
Dial it up.
I like the fact that you've actually incorporated what we've been doing for years into the newer technology. So making that transition from regular to electric really isn't going to be that big of a jump. You know, when I think about the electric vehicles and even maintenance on electric vehicle, it scares me because we're not used to it. We're not used to doing it. You give me a carbureted engine, I'm good. You give me this kind of pump panel, I know what this is about. I know how to throttle it up, get more pressures. I know how to do that stuff. But you're helping us transition to what's really coming.
Yep.
About how long can you pump on just battery mode without putting on the generator? Give it on average.
NFPA says when you do an NFPA pump test, it says you have to run the pump at max capacity for 2 hours without refueling.
Okay.
Right? So on your traditional trucks, that's putting diesel fuel in the tank.
Yep.
On this truck, it's recharging the battery.
Okay.
So this is a 1250 GPM pump. It'll run the 2-hour NFPA pump test without recharging the battery.
So without turning on that backup generator, you can run it with just the.
Yep.
That's impressive. That's really impressive. Let's go around this side. So this flips up just like your standard truck.
Like a standard truck. everything is like
Yeah.
normal North American fire truck.
Yeah.
So we have it's a 6-liter Cummins engine, same engine out of a Dodge pickup truck,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And it's driving this generator, this electric motor.
Okay.
That electric motor and there's 2 electric motors there.
Okay.
They're the same motor, it's just one's flipped around. One's flipped around to make electric and one's flipped to push electric.
Push electric. Okay.
So when that engine's running, there's no drivetrain from that motor off. It's just cabling, recharging the battery.
Okay.
That generator is capable of doing 145 kilowatts of power.
Okay.
Kilowatts per hour. So that's all being pushed back into the batteries to recharge. So if we're sitting on scene, right, and we're pumping, right, maybe your pump's using 45 kilowatts per hour. So that means there's 100 going into the 100 kilowatts per hour going back into the battery.
Right.
Now you get all your lights and fans and whatever else running. Maybe that accounts for another 25% or
Right.
25 kilowatts. So now
Right.
you have 75 kilowatts pushing back into the battery, recharging those batteries. So it'll always stay ahead of itself.
Right.
Right.
Because that's, I think, was the biggest nerves that we had when we were thinking about this. Like, I don't want to get to a fire and run out of juice, you know, because I got to plug in a car. I got, you know, almost like those Teslas that I only can go so far, and then I got to charge it, and I got to find another charging station. This actually brings its own charging station with it.
So I left Ocala, Florida on Wednesday, drove up to Atlanta, and then Atlanta up to here. I haven't plugged in yet. I just recharge off the generator.
Wow.
Now, I mean, there's a 32-gallon fuel tank.
Sure.
You got to keep fuel in
Yeah,
it, you
yeah.
know, but, and there's a def tank. You got to, you know,
Yep.
do a regen and all that stuff.
Yeah,
you
your
know,
your typical diesel engine.
Yeah.
But so the question then becomes, since it is only using the generator to fuel the stuff, how much fuel then you go through trying to keep the electric going, give or take?
So I think I filled up twice from Atlanta or from Ocala to here.
Wow.
And
Okay.
I wasn't empty. I just,
Right.
you know, it's time to take a break and pull in. Let's fill it up, you know. So this 6-liter engine and the 32-gallon fuel tank compares to like an X15 diesel and a 55-gallon fuel tank. So you get the same time
Right.
sort of running it. But the truck goes a lot further because you get all the batteries.
Yeah. Right. What problems or issues that you have to address in the station design to accommodate for a fire truck? Is there something that they have to incorporate into those stations?
They'll have to make sure they have the correct power.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
I think it's 3-phase, 440.
Is that something that has to be reconstructed, or can they retrofit many stations?
No, they could retrofit, you know, depending on what kind of power they have coming in. They may have to do transformers or, you know, something to boost it up if it's not,
Okay.
you know, the right current.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for walking us
bet.
around. What was your
No
name
problem.
again?
Tim.
Tim?
My
Nice to
name's
meet you, Tim. So this was my first look at an electric truck. The fact that FEIRO Symposium brings these guys down to show you guys exactly what's going on and what the future is going to be, you guys can't miss these things. Next time, come down here. If you're not here already, you got to come to these symposiums, get the education, and start learning about these things. It's information that you can't get anywhere else.
One of the things we're really interested in today is the electrifying the fire service type thing. When it comes to electrifying the stations, you know, there's been talk of electric trucks and all that type of thing. Well, all that's going to need infrastructure with it, and that's one of the things that we're thinking about. We're not looking to buy an electric truck anytime soon, but we do hope to build a station that'll be around by the time an electric truck will probably get there. So how do we not cause problems down the road?
Right, right. Well, it's cool that you're coming, you know, early. You're ahead of the game right now. So when that does come down the road, because we all know it is. You know, we now have the buses. We already have the fire trucks out there.
Oh yeah.
You know, a lot of the police stations are, you know, looking to the electric vehicles for even police cars,
Right.
and they need those infrastructures. They're struggling. So by coming to FEIRO and learning about that, Pretty cool.
That's right.
Thanks
It's a good place for it.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
So I got a question for you. Yes. Why should firehouses make this Fire Station Symposium a priority for them to come?
Well, our firm specializes in health and wellness, and this symposium talks a lot about that and how it's incorporated into a fire station, which is very important today with things like cancer on the rise and mental health and wellness. So I think it's a must for everyone.
How do you believe your unique perspective helps you in the jury process?
So I'm a registered licensed architect, as well as been a line firefighter for almost 40 years. So between the two of them, I think I have a pretty good perspective on what works and what doesn't work. Site designs and what we can do to make their projects more successful, or maybe sometimes they need to look for a new site. A lot of this stuff I worked with was people from Fiero coming here, and they would sit down and look at their sites, their plans, and would give some feedback and critique on what they can do to make their systems work better.
Range extended is completely battery only, electric motor only, and then you have a generator on board. Well, there's a lot of departments out there, Charlotte included, that have pretty hot hydrants. So now all of a sudden we can get ourselves in the mindset that an electric fire truck, even without a range extender, you know, can do a pretty decent amount of fire suppression. 90% of them medical, they do about 3.1 miles round trip.
So here at the symposium, they had an electric fire truck, which is one of the things that we haven't seen yet. So you had a chance to ride in it. What did you think?
It was really quiet. I've never been, I've sat inside of fire engines before, and they always smelled kind of funky. And so this one was really quite clean, because I guess it's not been in service. Really quiet and smooth. Quiet and smooth, and the kids in the back were having a blast.
That's awesome.
I think it was just the emphasis on electric. So the microgrid session I thought was incredible, and just knowing more about, you know, the requirements that we're looking at, and just kind of, you know, predicting the future, looking in the crystal ball.
Okay. Have you ever been to a Fiero conference in the past?
I have not to this one.
Okay.
I've been to the one with the Safety Officers Association.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, that was good.
All
Good
right.
stuff.
How to design a proper decon laundry.
Where we've come from since this time when James Garfield was assassinated in 1881, it was not the bullet that killed him, it was the doctors that killed him. Because they all stuck their fingers into the bullet wound trying to figure out where the bullet was. So when I started designing fire stations in '93, okay, so what is in this gross decon space? That first thing you saw was a SCBA mask.
The upper levels, say, renovating the interior of this whole building.
There's still dangerous exhaust, there's still particulate. So we're all aware of NIOSH, right? NIOSH. Those numbers that have bounced around a little bit over the past couple years.
And then ultimately, I think what a lot of departments don't recognize is that in today's society, the word volunteer, you can tattoo it on your forehead, carry a neon sign that blinks. The public does not see that word. They don't recognize it, they don't understand it. They've been accustomed to, if I pick up the phone and call 911, somebody better be there.
My name is Rob. I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee. I actually did some independent research trying to look for some station design conferences and symposiums, and came across this one on the internet, and was able to get some team members together, and we came down here to see and learn what we could. Well, I think that it's very important to get people from different areas of your fire department who have different levels of expertise and be able to utilize their input so that it's not just one person's vision, but everyone's vision.
I'm Brian, and I'm from Granite Falls Fire Department. This is my first symposium. I came down to this symposium because we just received a grant for a new station, and it fit what we need to be looking at and where we need to be planning. The most interesting thing I've learned is through the architects and learning to make your station flow and learning how to make things for decon and things like that. Just a lot to think about, and there's a lot of good people here that have shown me things that I hadn't thought about. The biggest thing from the sponsors is what they provide, how they can help me, and things like cost analysis and things like that, and just where to go when I need to look for those things and building this new station.
Designing stations to improve sleep and reduce cardiac stress by Dr. Joel Billings and Blake Richardson.
So first, why do we care about sleep? Type into Google EMS crash, sleep deprivation. Now, we've all pulled all-nighters, and doing that, you can bounce back pretty quick. The human body's pretty resilient, but over time, sleep is the newest one that's kind of been added, and in the fire service, it's more or less now just starting to enter into the conversation.
So let's talk about some paths to sustainability. There's 3 different paths we're going to focus on today. Leadership in environment and energy and environmental design. It is the most widely used.
Noise has been known as a causative factor in stress-related illnesses, including hypertension, ulcers, and neurological disorders.
How did we get to the point where we are talking about storm shelters in our fire station?
The 4 computer stations are the 4 different groups. That's where the chief basically can come in, and that represents, well, who's working today, who's got what. You can go and reference the calendar. It's keeping the system separate. You're not allowed to do, I'm going to use ethics training again.
The other thing that's kind of important through the finish selection is a lot of times we just say paint. And we have these sustainability goals of like, oh, no VOCs, this, that, and the other.
Brandon Crockett with Goochland County Fire Rescue. I actually came down, I'm captain in charge of training, so I came down Sunday for the training center components. But we're a small combination department, so building a couple fire stations, mini mines, kind of make great work. So that was the other thought process behind me attending it. So one of the reasons or things that I enjoyed about being here, actually Sunday when I attended the training stuff, learning how to make a site depending on topography and being able to compromise with sites and how they limit you. So that was interesting to kind of see how that works and how to make the best of unusable space. So I ended up talking to a couple vendors that I already knew, and so I got to kind of refresh some information that I was learning and interact and maybe get a little bit more in depth on some of the products that we were already looking at.
Water, HVAC. So sequencing was important because first and foremost is the mission, right? Mission first, people always. So how do we accomplish both? Too many people. That's a lesson learned. Keep your group, keep your SME group lean, mean, and productive.
Leave that building, leave the quarters, put people somewhere else. It's really no way to treat this really expensive equipment.
I learned a lot about the laundry decon room and how to set that up so you can get the harmful products of combustion out of our turnout gear and have a safe place for our firefighters to decon and all that. It's very fascinating.
Certainly like one of the first sessions where I think we talked about the good, the bad, and the ugly. It was a great session that was very practical, as well as the site selection presentation yesterday. And today so far, we've had the diesel exhaust extraction systems, and that's been very good information because not all departments can fit all the different types of systems into their buildings.
Right.
So it's good to know there are options out there. And obviously, diesel exhaust is another percentage of it. So great conference.
What do you hope the group walks away from your presentation?
I hope they realize that there's an opportunity to really optimize their stations. They can meet their budgets. They need to bring the right professionals together and have a collaborative process that ultimately will deliver their dream station.
I hope they can understand the health impacts of alerting and also understand how to design a station in a way that really prioritizes firefighter health and understand all the solutions that are out there to make the alerting process healthier and less stressful.
Now I know that you guys have been here in the years past. We saw you before. What brings you back year after year after year?
The quality.
The quality of the people, and there's always new information. There's always something cutting edge that's being brought to this symposium because of how it's been run for so many years. The feedback that we get and the information that we're able to take back home, you can't get it any better, so why would we not come back?
Yeah. Well, I call BS. That is a terrible statement, and it is far from true. Further, besides the apparatus, we've learned, using the State Farm, Allstate, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. A drone manufacturer, an independent contractor that manufactures things and tests them at Aberdeen Proving Ground. In this particular instance, we want to make sure we're lighting between the apparatus so that we're not casting shadows. There are gas monitors and indoor air quality monitors that are strategically located roughly 5 feet off the ground around the building around the bays that detect anything from sulfuric acid to hydraulic fluid and the air quality not being good. Fourfolds are awesome, sectionals are awesome. There's no right or wrong decision in each one. You just need to know the benefits and the costs. We think about electric apparatus on this concept of technology curve. We're somewhere around here.
Essential facilities are defined by the International Building Code.
Some of the cons to this is just the distance to the corridor is getting longer from the bedroom. And then you've got the issues, if you allow that, of he said, she said. Here's an example from Phoenix number 62, I believe, of a Decon, a smaller locker in the Decon room, storing a few uniforms, and then your main locker. And we can put uniforms in gender-specific locker rooms, and this is something we deal with in my department. With 43 stations, we have gender-specific locker rooms. Toiletry lockers are a good addition, regardless of what type of bathroom design you do.
We're at the very end of this. How many first-timers do we have? Boom! You guys feel like you've been drinking from a fire hose? It's all about to explode. Not so overboard, but it does create interest from a public perspective. A drinking fountain on the apparatus floor, which is actually a real big no-no now, because we know about the diesel soot and dust, so we're trying to avoid that.
So we got another chance to speak with one of the other board members. This is Jessica.
So I started out as marketing and sales. That was in 2018. And then I was asked to become executive director. So I've been executive director since 2019, which was really interesting going through COVID. We had to sort of adapt some of our methods, and we did a webinar series. So it's been great. It's been a lot of good experiences.
Now, why should a station attend the FEIRO Symposium?
Because building a fire station is a highly specialized building, and it really takes architects that understand all of the technology and all of the components that go into a fire station. It's not just like building another building or a commercial building. There's lots of components that really are specialized, and it's really important for the health and safety of the firefighters. That's the most important.
And then finally, how does attending the FEIRO Symposium equip the attendees making educational decisions for their stations? Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. Well, we heard several different presentations, one about actually forming a committee when you're doing your station design to allow for succession planning and to make sure that there's some consistency. Also, having the fire service involved is really important because they're the end users. They're the ones that are going to be using the station. So they really already know what may work and what may not work just from living in the station and operating out of it.
Okay. Thank you very much for taking your time out.
Thank you for being here.
All right. Thank you.
A bombing is possible. Is it likely? And that will depend on where you're at and your specific situation and the impact of whatever that incident might be.
We want to thank you all so much for coming. Tell your friends and neighbors about the conference next year. We really appreciate you being here, and we'll see you next year. Thanks again.
All right, so we're going to meet up with one of the other board members.
Well, I'm a founding member of the organization, and we go all the way back to 1990.
Wow.
And I've been active on the board, and I've been president since the late 90s.
The question that we've been raising as we've been walking around and talking to people is why should the Fire Station Design Symposium be a priority for fire stations to come?
Well, a fire station is center to the security and safety of the public in every community. And in many communities, they're staffed by volunteers. There is so much to learn and know about a fire station. Unfortunately, so many people just think of them as a garage with an attached bedroom and kitchen maybe. And there's so much more than that. You know, it's for career and combination people. It's where so much of their life is spent, and there's so many different considerations now.
And then what makes FEIRO Design Symposium unique compared to anything else?
Well, we consist of all fire service people that do this, and we're a 501c nonprofit. All of our people have a vast background in the fire service and a passion for the fire service. And we take great pride in trying to provide the most comprehensive, most professional learning experience where people can hear from subject matter experts as well as network among themselves about what's going on in the fire stations. Almost without fail, people will come up afterwards and say something like, wow, we would have never thought of that if we hadn't been here. And the other people say, you know, this is the third or fourth time we've been here, and we're now bringing our city manager with us. And we're beginning to convince them of why we need what we're asking for.
Well, Robert, thank you so much for your service. We really appreciate it. We've had a fantastic time at FEIRO, and we're definitely going to be booking it for next year. So
okay.
We'll see you again.
My pleasure. Thank you guys so much for covering it.
You're welcome. What an amazing week here at FEIRO. I've met so many good people. I've met some fire chiefs. I've met some architects. They gave me so much information that is valuable to us as heroes next door when we're thinking about building that fire station or that training center. Thank you all for watching, but make sure you do us a favor. Hit that subscribe, hit that notification so we can keep bringing you more. We'll see you again next week. Let's work our way around to the front and try to figure out where these batteries are.
Stop opening things. Freaking me out.